Wait, you're listening.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
You're
Listening
to Radio Lab.
Radio Lab.
Shorts!
From
WNYC.
See? And NPR.
Okay, so let's just do something off the top of our head. Hey, I'm Jad Abumrad.
I'm Robert Krulwich.
This is Radio Lab,
The podcast.
And on this podcast, just short, we're thinking back to our Falling show. Do you want to just briefly describe that show?
The Falling Show was a show just to dwell on the word or the idea of falling.
Right.
So it included falling in love and falling down, falling over waterfalls in a barrel.
Falling apart.
Falling apart.
You know a place we didn't really get to go in the Falling show, which I'd like to take us now?
There.
Gravity. You know, the force that makes one fall. So no one can really explain why gravity works the way it does, but we all basically trust that it works.
Right. When you put your foot up in the air, it'll hit the ground. Throw a ball up, it'll hit the ground.
Yeah.
And gravity and you just get along.
You and gravity have an agreement.
Yes. And one of our topics, which we did with the great, I have to say this now with a certain fierceness because of what's about to happen, with the great journalist, David Quammen, we were talking about falling cats.
And just to summarize, the whole thing started for David, and therefore for us, when he read this study written by two vets.
Wayne Whitney and Cheryl Melhoff,
Who worked in...
the Midtown Veterinary Hospital.
and they noticed that in Manhattan...
There were a lot of cats falling out of windows, high windows, falling off ledges, falling off roofs.
And when they looked at the data, they found something a little strange, that cats who fell on the first through fifth floors were lightly injured.
Which makes sense.
Cats that fell from the 10th floor up, they also didn't get hurt so much.
Which doesn't make sense.
It's cats who fell from the 5th through the 9th floor. Those were the ones that really got banged up.
We thought this was super interesting. I mean, like, why would a cat falling 42 floors not get hurt more than a cat falling 9 floors? It doesn't make any sense. And David gave us what we thought was a very plausible answer, but it was one that made a lot of listeners go, I'm not buying it. Like, for instance, that guy, that's Neil deGrasse Tyson, astrophysicist, frequent guest.
I laid out the general idea of the program for him, and we said they had, I don't know, was it six? How many cats? Six.
Oh, boy.
Anyway,
I don't
hundreds
remember.
of cats. Apparently, this
I don't
being
think
the-
it was hundreds, but it was, no, it was hundreds.
it was hundreds.
Yeah.
Only hundreds of cats?
You want a bigger number?
No, I'm just hundreds.
Yes, that's a lot. They kept a careful sort of record.
Oh, wait. It's hundreds of cats who fell and were taken to the vet.
That's right.
That's a different number.
Right.
Okay.
The ones who died didn't probably get taken to the hospital.
Nor the ones who survived without need of medical care.
Well,
it's true, but
if your
within-
cat fell from the 40th floor, wouldn't you take him to the doctor?
If
It's
it
like-
stands up and does the jig, no, it's fine. Cats have 9 lives. So this is a highly biased data set among
Granted.
all cats that fell from a window.
Granted, but of the cats who fell, these vets noticed a
No,
particular
of the cats who fell and were taken to the vet. So I'm betting that the high floors, most of them just simply died. And you don't take a dead cat to the vet. I mean, you might, but why? All right, so you started with a completely biased sample. So I try not to spend much brain power analyzing flawed data.
Okay, we can deal with that.
Okay, that's our guy in the fight. That's David Quammen.
Clearly, Dr. Tyson, he's a smart guy, but Tyson is missing the point, I think. The point is, within this admittedly biased sample, there's a really, really interesting pattern that begs to be explained, and that is, among the cats that have fallen and have gotten injured somewhat, the ones that fell 5 stories got injured worse than the ones that fell 25 stories. Why?
And that's an interesting question. No matter how many cats died, there's still this interesting skew in the injured cat population. That's not going away.
And he's saying, your data set is incomplete. And what I say in response is, it's a very interesting data set, and let's try and understand it.
incomplete or not.
All data sets are incomplete. What does he study?
He studies physics.
Yeah.
Does he study stars, distant stars?
Distant star.
He's actually an astrophysicist.
Oh, okay. Well, he's looked at a few stars. And he's drawn conclusions about them based on what he's seen.
Wait, let me back up. If your data, though incomplete, suggested something that made sense given the laws of physics, then you'd have less urge to question it. But you're telling me something that conflicts with my understanding of physics 101.
Well, we haven't yet told you. We're
Well,
going to tell
yes.
you. We're
We're
going to
gonna
tell you.
tell you now.
Let me tell you in a miniature. So
No, so you invent you invent.
You can't
haven't
accuse
yet-
me. Haven't done it yet.
I feel an invention coming.
So
I feel
what
the vibe.
What we would call a perfectly reasonable interpretation, but what you might call an invention, goes as follows. So the cat falls out of the 42nd floor window, let's say, and it begins to accelerate. So for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors, it is accelerating. And then something happens around 9 floors where the pull of gravity gets balanced out by the push of the air against its belly, and it hits terminal velocity.
Which in regular words is it continues to drop at the same speed.
So then it's at cruising speed.
After the cats hit terminal velocity and the sensation of acceleration was gone, they relaxed. They sort of stretch out like a flying squirrel. And then they hit the ground, belly flop.
And you're saying that because they hit this cruising speed and then relax into the flying squirrel, the impact is less?
Yes.
There's no obvious reason to me why a cat at terminal velocity is more relaxed than a cat in free fall. You're essentially in free fall, you're weightless. You're weightless. Your speed actually doesn't matter while you're weightless. You don't even know what your speed is.
What do you mean? Well, you're speeding up, so things are changing.
No.
and-
If you're speeding up, it is an unnoticeable phenomenon.
All right.
The cat is as weightless the moment they leave the window as they are as they approach the terminal velocity speed.
Do you have a cat, by the way?
No, but I've explored the behavior of cats under the laws of physics in my youth. Nothing violent, but just I'm learning
Shall
physics.
we probe this, or shall we discreetly look away?
So the cat freaks instantly when there's no ground under it. It gets its legs underneath within a fraction of a second. After that, now you're trying to go psycho on the cat and say, oh, well, it's thinking about its fall and it's free. It's in accelerating, then it's in terminal velocity. It's already legs pointed down at that point.
Well, the part about you are essentially weightless when you're falling, whether you're accelerating or not, is something that he's more likely to know about than we are. And I give him credit for that. On the other hand, he's a physicist. He's not an animal behaviorist, so he really doesn't know any better than we do what a cat thinks or what a cat feels. Probably there are a lot of cat owners out there who could help us as much as this brainy physicist.
So maybe we should ask our listeners.
But, ladies and gentlemen, do not approach this as an experimentally addressable question.
Do not throw your cat out of a window.
No, do not do that.
No.
We will come and arrest you if you do that.
That's one of the things that makes this a kind of a tricky, opaque, intractable question.
So here's what we suggest. We suggest that you go to your cat, if you have one. If you speak cat, just ask them. Tell me, is accelerating different from just gliding to the ground?
Do you know the famous cat jelly toast experiment?
No, what's that?
So a cat always lands on its feet.
Right.
A slice of jelly toast always lands jelly side down. So you
know that.
strap jelly toast to the back of a cat.
Thinking they might cancel each other out.
And so there's a research paper on it that says you take the cat with the jelly toast strapped on its back, and then you toss it. And it falls, and then it stops, and then it hovers above the ground.
And decides which way to land?
No, it doesn't land at all. Because it can't know which way to land. Because the jelly toast is fighting the
cat.
urge to land on its feet. This
That's
is a well-known
why-
experiment in
Yes.
the Journal of Irreproducible Results. Where such a result belongs.
All right, let's get out of here.
Thank you to Neil deGrasse Tyson,
Small D.
director of the director of the Hayden Planetarium. Thank you to David Quammen,
Big D.
Big D, and
Thank you, Robert.
thank you, Chad.